What is good, y'all? Welcome to Making the Walk. I'm Antoine, and as always, thank you to our subscribers. To those viewing us for the first time, make sure you like and subscribe. We definitely appreciate that. Today, we're going to talk about the top 5 UFC featherweights of all time. And it's probably coming out at a pretty good time. But, this is interesting because I feel like there's been a lot of conversation around this particular subject, and I'm hearing certain answers that I don't agree with, but I feel like this argument that I'm going to make is a pretty definitive one. I don't really think that this should even be a question at this point, but let's dive into it. Let's see what the list is about. So obviously, the featherweight division is one that's got some pretty significant stars. We got Volkanovski, we've got Max Holloway, we had Conor McGregor. So we have some really amazing fighters in this division, and it doesn't get the bang that people get out of the lightweight division, but it should. So let's start the list. At number 5, first on the list is Uriah Faber, the California kid. I have him listed here at 5 for one significant reason, but let's talk about what he did do. He, for me, is the reason that I actually started watching the sport, was following Uriah Faber back in the WEC days. Watching him and, people like Dominic Cruz was there, and Cub Swanson, and Donald Cowboy Cerrone, and at lightweight, and Ben Henderson, Anthony Pettis, list goes on. The WEC is why I started watching the sport in general, and Uriah Faber was a star for the little guys. He won the featherweight belt, defended it 3 times, and came into the UFC and moved down to bantamweight and challenged for the belt there. So Uriah Faber, Hall of Famer, is a legit number 5. Definitely deserves his place on the top 5, in my opinion. The only reason I feel like he's this low is because he never got a chance to get UFC gold. But I think that if the UFC had those lower weight divisions during that time, I think that he would have probably gotten one. So number 4 on the list is none other than the notorious one, Conor McGregor. So before he became champ, before he went off and fought, Floyd Mayweather, and before he, has done this weird stint on The Ultimate Fighter, Conor McGregor was a featherweight, and a really, really, really good one. He ran through the division on his way to pretty much taking everything that Jose Aldo had in 13 seconds. He did all of that. He beat the likes of Dustin Poirier. He beat Max Holloway. So he beat Chad Mendez. So he beat some pretty impressive people on the way to getting that belt. Now, granted, that was a very young Max Holloway. I will give that disclaimer, but Conor McGregor did amazing things, and he called his shots before he did it. The reason that I have him lower on the list here at number 4, which is still pretty admirable, is because he never defended the title. He won the interim belt against Chad Mendez, and then beat Jose Aldo, and immediately left the division to go chase after champ status, which he did achieve. But I do have him listed here at number 4. At number 3, and this is where things get dicey. We all know who the top 3 are, but this is my order, and my order actually has a little bit of logic behind it. So at number 3, I have Max Holloway. Max Holloway is a homegrown talent. It's one of the times we see somebody come into the UFC really young, and they actually deliver on the promise that they had before they got into the organization. He has fought the who's who of of people, of opponents. And he's beaten his fair share of them. He defeated Jose Aldo to get the belt and then beat him again. That alone is ridiculous. He's fought Alexander Volkanovski 3 times. And one of those times you could argue, maybe even 2, you could argue that Max won those fights. And he defended the belt 3 times. So, I mean, and who's to say, but more than likely he would probably be the best featherweight in the world if it wasn't for that one Australian guy. So Max deserves his spot in the top 3 for sure. At number 2, I have that Australian guy that I was just talking about, Alexander the Great Volkanovski. I have him here listed in number 2. I think it's interesting that people are already listing him at number 1. First of all, Volk has a lot of tread left on the tires. He's got a lot left in his career that he could accomplish. He's performing at peak skill. He's amazing. He's an amazing fighter. He's undefeated at featherweight. And the only loss that he has in the UFC has come to Islam Makhachev at lightweight. And some argue that he won that. So I think that he's just scratching the surface on what he will become, when he decides to finish up. But at this point, right now, I have him listed at number 2, which leaves number 1 is obvious, Jose Aldo. So here's the deal. The way that I look at these rankings, these lists, is I value what the fighters themselves value. And that's how I take my look at the list. What do I mean by that? I value what they put their stock in when they are training, when they are preparing for a fight. What are the things that they're thinking of? If you ask any person that's in a competitive sport what their goal is, the first thing that they're going to say is championship. It doesn't matter what sport it is, they're going to say championship. Not necessarily a record, not even necessarily money. They're going to say a championship is what they want. And a lot of them will take less money. They'll take, away any sort of accolades that they got individually and put all their stock into winning a championship. And not only that, championships are when the lights are the brightest. They have the most pressure. They have the most obstacles. They have the most eyes. There's so much anxiety that can come during those particular times. And so with that being the case is when they're playing the game at its most difficult, how do they do in those situations? I put a lot of stock in that, and so do they. So therefore, that's what I use to kind of judge these particular rankings, these particular lists. And so Jose Aldo, in comparison to, who's at 2 and 3, Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway, Jose Aldo defended his belt 2 times in the WEC. And when the WEC went into the UFC, he just defended that belt 7 more times. That's 9 times that he defended his belt. This is not a question. He is the greatest featherweight of all time. It's plain and simple. How could you even compare the 9 times that he defended his belt to the 4 times that Alexander Volkanovski defended his? And it's not like Jose was fighting, just people that they threw at him. He's fighting the legitimate number 1 contender. He's fighting legit guys. Jose Aldo is number 1. It's not even a question. If you disagree, you know what to do. Jump in the comments. Let me know how you feel. We could talk it out. And you'll start to understand where I'm coming from, and you'll probably agree. So, till then, holla at you.